One morning, Toby the tram engine was feeling glum. It had been some time since Toby had taken passengers with Henrietta. All he could do was watch the other engines busily work away in the yard. Just then, Gordon puffed in to take on water. "Oh, hello, Gordon," said Toby. "Are you taking the express today?" "Who else but me?" huffed Gordon. "You're lucky to always have passengers," replied Toby sadly. "Henrietta and I haven't gone this long without work since... well, not since my old tramway closed down." Then Toby remembered. "It was back in the good old days," chuckled Toby. "We had our own line, hauled goods, and Henrietta was always bustling with passengers. They'd visit us on holiday and always remembered our names. But then they stopped coming back. My line was closed, and the good old days were over." "It would be nice to have my old tramway again," sighed Toby. "Like having my own branch line." "Pah!" grunted Gordon. "Branch lines are just useless extensions of the important main line. That's all the Fat Controller cares about." And he puffed away. Just then, Thomas puffed in with some trucks. He saw Toby, looking dismayed. "What's the matter?" asked Thomas. "Oh, just missing being useful," replied Toby. "But if I could just have some work to do." Thomas smiled. "Well, why don't you take that train of building supplies to Percy for me? They're needed up at the worksite for the new main line extension. Then I'll be able to pick up the Fat Controller early, and you'll have some work to do." Toby was excited, but the extension was news to him. "Come on, Toby," said Toby's driver. "We'll take Thomas's branch line to give you a good long run." Toby was now beaming with joy. He reversed into Thomas's train and set off for the worksite. But as he puffed down the line, he couldn't help but think about what Gordon had said. "The Fat Controller really does only care about the main line," he thought sadly. Meanwhile, Percy was fuming.
"Where's Thomas?"
Percy complained.
"I'm exhausted."
"He'll be here soon," soothed his driver, "but we must remind him to not spoil the surprise." Percy was puzzled.
"What surprise?"
he asked. But before his driver could reply, Toby puffed in. "Here are the building supplies, Percy."
"Toby, what are you doing here?"
snapped Percy. "Oh, I'm sorry. Thomas told me I could take these supplies for him. Is there anything else I can do to help?" Percy eyed a long line of trucks full of scrap and tree branches.
"You can take those back to the yard for me,"
he replied. The train looked quite heavy, but Toby agreed. Toby rolled onto a special junction called a Y to change direction. He then buffered up to the heavy train and was on his way. Soon Toby was pushing the heavy train up a big hill. He made a great effort, but just as he reached the top, the weight of the trucks became too much for him. His driver shut off steam and tried to apply the brakes, but it was too late. But there was worse to come. As Toby thundered down the line, he saw Percy dead ahead on his track. "Watch out, Percy!" cried Toby. Toby thundered past Percy and disappeared into the woods. Toby shut his eyes and braked as hard as he could. At last, Toby stopped right beside an old station. When Toby opened his eyes, he couldn't believe where he was. Just then, Percy pulled up.
"Are you alright, Toby?"
Toby was bubbling with excitement. "Percy, this is my old tramway! And look, there's my old shed! I never thought I'd see it again!" Just then, Thomas arrived with some workmen, and the Fat Controller. He spoke sternly to Toby. "You should know your own strengths by now, Toby." "I'm sorry, sir. I only wanted to help." "I'm aware of that. I'm just relieved to see you safe, though it's a shame you spoiled your surprise." Toby was confused. "My surprise, sir?" he asked. The Fat Controller smiled. "Yes, Toby. Our new extension is in fact a restoration. We are restoring and connecting your tramway with the main line and Thomas's branch line." Toby grinned from buffer to buffer. He almost couldn't believe it. "Oh, sir! Thank you, sir!" When the restoration was complete, Toby took Henrietta and a group of friends, old and new, on a special train down the line on their first run. for Toby, it seemed that the good old days were here to stay.